Welcome to Aussizz Conclave 4.0. We hope that you are excited to know all about accounting occupation, courses, and PR pathways. Now, let's meet our experts who will be guiding you today. First of all, we have Sadman Saqib. He's an education consultant at Aussizz Group. Then next, we have our lead presenter, Mr. Rajan Goel, a highly experienced registered migration agent at Aussizz Group. Next, we have is Daksh Patel. He's an experienced Australian migration expert from Aussizz Group. That's all, folks. That's from my side. Relax and enjoy the session. You're in good hands. I would like to call upon Sadman Saqib, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sadman Saqib, an education consultant in Melbourne. Today, I will be discussing about accounting, which is a very renowned topic. So first of all, the question comes in that why accounting? So accounting is indispensable for business operations as it facilitates the monitoring of finances, ensures adherence to regulation, and furnishes stakeholders like investors, management, and government with crucial financial data to inform strategic decision. And secondly, another important factor is accounting aids in documenting daily transaction. As you go about your daily routine, maintaining records, all these things becomes very essential. Accounting is actually something that steps in to assist by enabling you to log each transaction, thus facilitating the calculation of both expenses and income. Our next topic is selecting accounting, which is basically a multi-sector career. And a couple of important factors to note is accounting is an unique function as this skill is essential in every industry, every organization, small or large, you name it. Accountants have the advantage of actually working in various sectors, be it public, not-for-profit, financial services, public practice, corporate, shared services, and it can go along. And in next slide, I will be discussing basically the pros of an accounting career. Normally, let's start with the income part. So this course is very popular and it has a lot of specializations. So we'll today give a hint about some of the most popular one. In terms of bachelor, the most common one is Bachelor of Commerce, then Bachelor of Accounting, Bachelor of Business, especially accounting as major, and then another popular one, Bachelor of Commerce and Bachelor of Law. For masters, we have got Masters of Professional Accounting, Masters of Commerce, major in accounting, and then Masters of Management, major in accounting, and then Masters of Accounting, straight degree. In our next slide, we'll be talking about how to find the right accounting course. We very often get this question from the students. A couple of things to look at. So the course we recommend to be certified by the CPA, which is the Certified Practicing Accountant Authority. Now, next one will be the graduates of the accredited program will be able to get an associate level professional membership with CPA and attend CPD and industry networking opportunities, because the CPA has certain criteria. So if the course doesn't meet those requirements, then eventually they can have some issues later on. On the third one, we'll be talking about the duration. So hugely beneficial for the program to be a minimum of 92-week durations, which is advantageous for the post-study work rights as well. Next one will be the course which has sort of work-based learning opportunities, internship or capstone projects, components for the professional enhancement. Normally in the university, we see that at the very last semester, popular universities or the most renowned ones, they do have the capstone project or internship opportunities. So definitely we will recommend the students to look out for that one. Next is looking into the institutions rankings, reputation, graduate employment outcomes. So the Times Higher ranking, or also we have got some of the Australian based salary scales. Student can look into those ones. The next one will be look into institutions career service. For example, many universities has industry partnership and also alumni network. So those things are a huge plus. Now, in next slide, we are talking about the institutions that is providing the course. So there are a number of institutions all over Australia providing this accredited course in both undergrad and postgrad. So some of the universities in Queensland will be Southern Cross University, Leader Institute, CKU, ACU. And then in Victoria, we have got CSU, Swinburne, MIT, La Trobe University, Victoria. In NSW, we have got TAFE NSW, PIC. And then in South Australia, we have got 𝐢𝐻𝐸 and Flinders University. In Northern Territory, we have got only the CDU. In Western Australia, we have got Murdoch University, UWA, Edith Cowan University, and Kaplan Business School. In Tasmania, we have got University of Tasmania, and in ACT, we have got Australian National University and University of Canberra. Scholarships are actually available in most of these universities, so we recommend the students to look out for that. In the next slide, we'll be discussing some of the career outcomes. Now, accounting is really a vast career. We have sort of mentioned here the most popular one that by the graduates. So some of them are management accountant, financial accountant, then business consultant list, public practice accountant, senior accountant, financial accountant, general accountant, and last, the most renowned one is the tax accountant. Now, in our next slide, we talk about if this occupation is really in need of Australia. So does Australia need accountants? The answer is absolutely yes. COVID-19 has reshaped the hiring landscape dramatically. Accounting graduates are now finding themselves in high demand, with employers actively seeking fresh talent to navigate the evolving economic climate. Our agency has witnessed a significant uptick in requests for entry-level accounting positions, a trend that shows no signs of slowing down. A comment by Mark Davis, accounting recruitment. Now, second comment is by Sarah Johnson, the recruitment manager from Excel Recruitment Service. She said, since the pandemic, the demand for entry-level accounting roles has surged. What used to be a steady stream of job postings has turned into a flood, with our firm now filling double the number of graduate accountants each month. That's pretty shocking. So it's quite booming, as we can see. And next is employers looking to fill accountancy and finance role over the next 12 months. Nominated financial accounting and reporting as the most prioritized position. So definitely we can understand that it's on high demand. In the next slide, we'll be talking about job market statistics nationally. So we can see that on average, an entry-level accountants may earn around AUD 25 to 35 per hour, while senior or specialized accountants can earn upwards of AUD 50 per hour. Median full-time earnings for accountants are $1,841 per week. This is higher than all jobs median, which is $1,600 mark. And we can see in the chart that about 200,000 people being employed. So that's a very good figure. In the next slide, we'll be talking about what's going to happen in the future. So strong future demand for the next 5 years. As per National Skills Commission, many professional occupations were found to be in shortage, with strong future demand included. So among them is basically accountant, the general one, and then management accountant, taxation accountant, external auditor, financial analyst, budget analyst, forensic accountant, cost accountant, and the last one is the financial controller. Cost accountant, and the last one is the financial controller. So I believe from my end, I tried to explain as much as possible.
Thank you, Sadman. Thank you. Thank you for all the knowledge. Hello, friends. My name is Rajan Goel. I'm a registered migration agent based in Perth. I have my colleagues with me whose names are Suman KC, a registered migration agent, and Daksh Patel, a registered migration agent as well. So we'll be conducting this session now and look at the accounting occupations and their PR pathways and what is the scope of these occupations as far as Australian PR is concerned. We'll try and make this session as interactive as possible. So keep those questions coming. We'll try and answer all of them and make it as interactive as possible. I'll just start with the accounting occupations first, like obviously with the names first. Just bear with me. I believe you can see my slides now. So when we talk about accounting occupations, we are basically talking about these 6-7 occupations together. I'll tell you in a minute why we are grouping these occupations together. So the occupations are accountant general, management accountant, taxation accountant, external auditor, finance manager, corporate treasurer. So we basically group them together because, first of all, the skills assessment process for all these occupations is absolutely the same. There's no difference whatsoever as far as the skills assessment criteria is concerned. And most of the states which have these occupations on their list will have all of these occupations together. We've seen that, like most of the states. Obviously, there could be exceptions to this rule, but most of the states would have these occupations together. So it doesn't matter. And most of the aspirants who actually put up an expression of interest or ROIs in these occupations have a skills assessment for 3 or 4 occupations together so that they can maximize the chances of getting invited. So that's why we actually group them together. We'll just go through the skills assessment process for these occupations first quickly. So the skills assessment process for all these occupations requires you to have a minimum of bachelor's degree, an equivalent Australian bachelor's degree or higher. It could be a master's as well. You must have studied 7 course of bachelor's or your higher degree or your master's degree, let's say, to be able to get a positive skills assessment for either an accountant or a management accountant, taxation accountant, finance manager, etc. So the 7 core subjects remain the same for all these occupations, right? So there's a list of 7 core subjects which is provided on the CPA website, IPA website, and the Chartered Accountants of Australia's website, because these are the 3 bodies that you can get the skills assessment done from for these occupations. So let's say you've done your bachelor's in your home countries as well. So it doesn't matter where you've done your bachelor's, as long as it's equivalent to Australian bachelor's, you can still get and you've studied those 7 core subjects, you can still get your subjects assessed from these bodies. And if they say that these 7 core subjects that you've studied are equivalent to Australian 7 core subjects, then you could receive a positive skills assessment even on the basis of your overseas bachelor's or master's. So it doesn't matter whether you've done a bachelor's of accounting or bachelor's of marketing or bachelor's of in any other field, or master's in marketing or master's in business administration, etc. What matters is that you must have studied these 7 core subjects. Now, there could be cases where you've only studied, like, let's say 4 subjects, 5 subjects, and haven't studied the rest of the 2 subjects. You still have the option of doing those 2 subjects like online, like from bodies like CPA or from chartered accountants, or you could even do them in Australian universities if you are in Australia, like on an ad hoc basis. So you can, let's say you haven't done one of the core subjects, which is financial accounting and reporting. You can simply enroll in a university to just do this one subject, and you can perhaps finish off this subject in 3 months, and then you will become eligible for accounting skills assessment, right? Accounting occupation skills assessment. Also, let's say you've done an entirely different master's or entirely different bachelor's where you did not study any of these subjects in either your bachelor's or your master's. You can then also study 7 core subjects. In perhaps some of the universities I know are offering these 7 core subjects in just 1 semester. So you can complete these 7 subjects in, like, let's say 6 months' time or a year's time if 6 months is too much for you. And then also you could get a positive skills assessment in one of the accounting occupations. Keep in mind that the subjects have to be studied at the required skill level. So you simply cannot study a subject as part of a diploma, because the subject has to be as part of the bachelor's or a master's. So it has to be sort of studied as part of your bachelor's or your master's. The third requirement for getting a positive skills assessment is that you must have 7 in all the components of an English exam, which could be an IELTS exam or a PTE as well. So a PTE would require you to have at least 65 in all the components, and IELTS will require you to have at least 7 in all the components for you to be able to get a positive skills assessment for one of these accounting subjects. If somebody is, there's only one exception to this rule, which is exception to the English requirement, that you can also do a professional year in accounting, and then you won't require the 7 in each of the components in IELTS or PTE. So if you do a professional year, you can get 5 points for that professional year, and plus you can get an exemption from the English requirement for the skill assessment process. So somebody who's not able to get the English component, they can do the professional year as well. But of course, if you do the 7 in each, you will get extra points, and plus you'll qualify yourself for the skills assessment as well. Right. So this is the skills assessment process for accounting occupations. It remains the same. As I said, you could have an altogether different degree which is not in accounting, but you can still get a positive skills assessment. And you can also get a positive skills assessment on the basis of your overseas qualifications, as long as you've studied those subjects and it is equivalent to Australian higher level qualifications. So these are the job duties of various occupations that I was telling you about earlier, the accounting group that we have made. So these are all given on ANSCO, which is the Australian Bureau of Statistics website. So you can have a look at the duties. So these are the duties that you'll be performing as part of these occupations. So these duties are generally only important when you're claiming points from the migration perspective, when you're claiming, or when you're fulfilling a criteria such as when you require a job offer letter in accounting occupations, then you must show that the duties that you're going to perform are similar to the duties listed under one of these occupations. So these are the duties. You could be a taxation accountant. So I'll be talking about the state criteria as well for these accounting occupations. So I'll be covering Western Australia state criteria, as well as I'll be touching upon South Australia state criteria, as well as Tasmania's state criteria. And as I said, we'll be your questions as well, as much as we can. So I've already gone through, I've already received many questions here. So somebody had asked, I'm currently in my final semester of Masters of Professional Accounting. I'll be completing it in September. I won't be eligible for 485 because of the age requirement now. I have around 1 year and 6 months experience in Australia, and that can be considered for my skills assessment. Previously, I have worked in ANZ Bank in New Zealand. So yes, so which you are completing in September, you can certainly get a skills assessment after you complete your master's. But if you have already done a bachelor's in accounting, let's say perhaps, you can think of getting the skills assessment right now and lodge an expression of interest for any of the states that you might be eligible for. Of course, I'll be explaining in a minute how you have to fulfill the state criteria before you can lodge an expression of interest or registration, and not only gather points. But yeah, perhaps if you've got an relevant overseas degree, think of getting a skills assessment right now rather than waiting for your master's to complete. But even after you complete your master's, you can get this. These bodies are really efficient, and if you meet the requirements, you can get the skills assessment within a couple of days, and then you can lodge your expression of interest pretty much straight away if you fulfill the requirements of the state. Of course, these occupations are on the MLT SSL list as well. So you will be eligible for 189 as well. And we'll be talking about employment chance there as well, not only under the general skilled migration. So Daksh, Suman, I'd like to bring you in, guys. Do you have anything else to say to this guy? And I'm pretty sure there'll be many people who are in the same boat, who are completing masters later soon, but they are not eligible for 485 anymore. So what are your suggestions to these guys?
Thank you, Rajan. Hello, everyone. My name is Daksh. I'm in Canberra with Aussizz Group. Question, because the 407 based on recent graduate, because you are working, so your employer can sponsor you on it as long account. Would be that if you have 2 years of part-time work experience, you can use that. Requirement is 2 years of full-time work experience for 482 visa. So that is not, I think you won't meet that because you need 4 years part-time in that scenario. But yeah, then if your visa is expiring before November, you can think of 407 visa as well.
Absolutely. Suman, do you have anything to add?
I'm particularly interested about ANZ Bank experience, because we don't know what was the title or duties. So if she if there is some duties that are matching with because they are not only the accountants, there are other occupations, for example, organization method analysts, information organization professionals. If your previous experience is matching with those duties, then even though you are not getting the 485, you can extend student visa, but buying some time into doing different courses. In the meantime, you can get your skills assessment in a different occupation other than accounting, and also get the any experience that you get paid it can be, there is obviously it is linked to some 𝐸𝐴𝐺𝐸𝐿 occupations. If it is up to the skill level, there is a skills assessment.
Yeah.
So you can also export that one.
Yeah. Very nice. Yes. So as suggested by Daksh, there are other pathways as well, like training visa, employer-sponsored pathway, and you could also be eligible for some other occupation based on the duties that you were performing in your earlier job occupations. So make sure you get your case assessed on a one-on-one basis by a professional, so that we can work out the options for you. And you can find an employer who's willing to sponsor you, perhaps get a skills assessment in accounting or in some other occupations that you might be eligible for. All right. So yeah, so all good advice there. So get in touch with one of the migration professionals, and you would be able to sort of get onto a pathway. So another question that has been written here is, I have done with my MBA. I'm done with my MBA, and only last semester for MPA left. What will be the PA? So it is very similar to the questions that we had just discussed. So there could be a number of pathways for you, which include training visas, skills assessments, or some other occupation, perhaps skills assessment for accounting occupation right now, and we can lodge an expression of interest right now as well, because not all states require you to be a graduate. As long as you've got a skills assessment for an occupation, you can become straight away eligible for a state. So you don't have to finish your degree before you become eligible. You could be eligible pretty much right now as well. So make sure you sort of get in touch with a professional here. What's the salary that the accounting profession needs to have as best for 190 and 491 visa? Now you have not written which state you are trying to make yourself eligible for. So we'll be touching the state criteria briefly but the thing is that every state, you have to remember, every state has their own occupation list, and every state has their own criteria. So one has to make sure that you meet the criteria for the state that you're trying to get eligible for. So I'll be talking about WA now. So Daksh and Suman can possibly take over after that and talk about their states. So WA basically has, for accounting, I'm talking sort of specifically for accounting occupations. WA has two streams in it. So one is general stream and one is graduate stream. Now, graduate stream requires you to have studied in WA for 2 years at least. Now, the 2-year study in WA does not have to be related to your nominated occupation. So you could have a skills assessment for accounting, but you could have you could have studied 2 years for becoming a chef. You could still use that 2-year study period to qualify for under the graduate stream, which requires you to have a minimum of 2 years of study in Western Australia. And that's all it requires. It doesn't require that the study should be related to your nominated occupation. And once you have studied in WA for 2 years, you could have a skills assessment for an occupation that is under the graduate list, and you would become eligible under the graduate list. Under the general stream that I was telling you about, there's no requirement that you should have studied in WA. The only requirement under the general stream is that you should have. General stream has 2 schedules of occupation, Schedule 1 and Schedule 2. Most of the accounting occupations only come under Schedule 2. So if your accounting occupation is under Schedule 2 occupation list under the general stream, all you have to do is get a skills assessment for that occupation, and you will become eligible for WA state nomination under the general stream. It doesn't matter whether you're sitting in NSW or you're sitting in outside of Australia, or you're sitting in Victoria, or you're sitting in Canberra, wherever, right? But of course, WA will prioritize people based on certain factors under the general stream. So people who are currently residing in WA will be preferred over people who are not residing in WA. And people who are residing in Australia will perhaps be preferred over people who are residing offshore. So people who are residing in WA, and you can only sort of mention that by putting your location as Western Australia and your expression of interest. And you will have to prove also, if you get invited, that at the time of invitation, you were a resident of WA. If you have claimed to be so in your expression of interest, then of course, you will be prioritized over other occupations. There are certain other criteria as well. Under the general stream, if you get invited for one edition, you must have a 6 months job offer letter from an employer based in, right? So 6 months job offer letter. Employment start date has to be within a specific time frame, should have meet the certain criteria as well. But the main point is that you must have a 6 months job offer letter from an employer in WA in your nominated occupation or closely related occupation. There's no such 491. So if you get invited for subclass 491, there's no requirement that you must have a job offer letter. Under the 491 category, all you need is a skills assessment for that occupation under the general stream. Under the graduate stream, there's no job offer letter requirement for either 190 or 491. The only criteria, there are factors IT under that graduate stream as well. So, for example, if you've studied a PhD in WA, you will be preferred, and if you've studied a master's, you will be preferred over people who've done bachelor's. And in the vet sector, if somebody has done an advanced diploma, they'll be preferred over somebody who's done a diploma, and then somebody who's done a certificate course, and so on. So these are the basic criteria based on which WA will invite you. So now you might have noticed the points don't matter as much as you meeting the criteria does. So somebody, let's say, diploma in WA, and they're standing at 70 points, and somebody who's only done a certificate course and they're standing at 90 points, and with an advanced diploma who's standing at 70 points will be preferred, because the first criteria that is used to rank candidates is the level of education under the graduate stream, of course, I'm talking about. All right. So the points don't matter. The points actually come at the last. So somebody who's done an advanced diploma and all of the criteria remains the same, then of course you will be tested against the points as well when they're inviting you. But if you are not meeting the thing they are. And similarly under the general stream, if you're not living in WA, it doesn't matter whether how many points you're 110 points. But the candidate who's residing in WA with 70 points might beat you as far as getting an invitation from WA is concerned. So people in accounting occupations normally think that they require very high points. That's not the case. So you can sort of make your case better by looking at the ranking factors, ranking criteria of each and every state. And not only WA, but every other state has a certain ranking criteria. And it might not necessarily be the points. So you have to make sure that the points is not the only criteria, but you have to make yourself eligible for and fulfill the other criteria as well for you to be able to get the skills assessment. And probably add something to what I said.
All right. Thanks, Rajan. I was just trying to reply a few comments while you were speaking.
Yeah.
So, yep. See, ACT in terms of accounting was really great. Let's say if we talk about 2-3 years ago, because ACT was one of the fewer states where there was no such one occupation priority over the other. So accounting, when it was tough in entire Australia to get PR, it was very easy in ACT. I'm talking about 3-4 years ago. But if we're talking about recently, then the problem is because everyone moved here and now the points requirement for the accounting went a bit high. Points went high everywhere, but the requirement in ACT, let's say if we talk about basic requirement, it's like you need to be working for 6 months in any sort of job, 30 hours per week for 190, and any sort of job for 13 weeks for 20 hours per week minimum for 491. However, in accounting, the problem would be that by doing this, whatever points applicants might get, it might not be enough because this Canberra follows a different sort of metrics points. Canberra doesn't follow the regular point system given by the federal government. And in that metrics point system, to be honest, unfortunately, the points are so high for accountants that they might not be able to get invite unless they have job in accounting. But yeah, if you have a job, if you can find a job as a graduate accountant, or can find a job as a graduate accountant and stayed here in Canberra for couple of years or graduated from Canberra, because Canberra gives points for living and studying as well each year. So that's how you can make higher points, and any graduate from Canberra eventually would have a lot of points and get an invite. However, I would like to add one more point here, because usually all the accountants have this sort of and have in their mind that they need, as an accountant job, they need to be doing all the 𝐸𝐴𝐴 duties, and it's a very high very sort of high required job. But see, with immigration, it's not. When you start first graduate accountant and working under a senior accountant, you still can be considered working as an accountant, because it's not that you are doing all the tasks like lodging the tax return and lodging the badge as well, as long as you are working in that sort of profession and in the graduate accountant roles as well. So you can apply for those. If you are not, we understand that you are not going to get a full accountant job straight away after graduating. So it's there are a few questions in the comment section as well that certainly use that employment claiming.
In Sydney. Yeah, I'm based in Sydney, so definitely I do have some insight from NSW. Of course, so NSW has 190 and 491 both pathways. So the first thing is residency requirements. For the 190, they require 6 months of continuous residency in New South Wales, and for the 491 residency requirements just only 3 months. Okay, so if you are currently might give you the invitation, then depends upon your target. For 190, you have to live here for 6 months. For the 491, you have to live here for 3 months. So for the 190, there is no criteria of work experience. Okay, so there is no criteria. The accounting occupation are there, but the way they're inviting is they're inviting someone with superior English and at least 3 years of experience. Okay, so I repeat, there is no criteria for the work experience, but they still inviting people with experience. Okay, so anyone who has got the 3 years of experience and want to come here, then make sure that you have at least 3 years of experience, as well as superior English and the points close to 95 or 100 points, and make sure you have a skills assessment in different occupations, like Rajan just said before, like external accounting, a lot of occupations. And for the 491, you just need to have a 50 points on your own, and if you can secure 6 months of work experience, which is even a part-time in the NSW regional. Okay, so anyone who is having just like, let's say, like not getting a proficient English or not doing a NATI, there is no PY, your age is, you're also not getting the points from the age, but you are just getting 50 points, then yes, 491 is there, because 15 points will be given from the NSW regional, but for that you need to have a 6 months of work experience in the NSW regional. That is also part-time. So if you have a working, if you get a job in the NSW regional, the places like Wollongong, Newcastle, these are some of the places, Dubbo, these places, even like, any aged care, you can, there can be accountant there. Any like, big, offices where they need can get a job there, and make sure that you have a 6 months of work experience part-time. Make sure that you get around $36. There is a 491 for you. So that's the pathway 1. And there is also the pathway 2, which is like invitation from the NSW state. So here, like, the way they're inviting again is similar to the 190. They're only inviting people with experience and superior English. Okay, so basically 3 different pathways. In the past, we have been invitation for the accounting occupations under the pathway 1 very well, and there is still some quotas left for 491 because they didn't use that much of quotas this year. And if you are currently in Sydney as NSW regional and about to meet your 6 months of nomination as soon as possible before they close it. So this is a Rajanji, if you want to continue with
yeah, certainly. So I was thinking we can take some of the questions, although yes, Daksh has been very proactive in answering some of the questions already. So okay, we'll have to figure out which questions Daksh hasn't answered yet, so we can have a discussion on that. So my wife is doing Masters in Accounting. Have you answered this question already, Daksh?
Which one?
So I was just going from the starting from the very top.
No, I've answered only recent few questions.
So you're not taking up from the top. Okay, so we'll go through the questions. So is there, so somebody has asked, is there any invites for accountants nowadays in any state? So the thing is that most of the states are closed now. They will be opening up in the next financial year, which is obviously starting in July, although it could take some time before they get the allocations from the federal government. But based on some of the discussions that have been happening with the Department of Home Affairs in the media, it seems that they are going to concentrate on regions now. One of the discussion papers that was recently released actually listed that they're going to triple the seats. So I don't really know what that means, but that's what they're writing. So obviously, it seems that they will be concentrating more on the regional areas. They want to drive migration towards the regions at the most. One of the suggestions in the discussion paper was that they might even like make the occupation list a lot bigger than what it is currently, or even remove the occupation list altogether, as long as there's a genuine need for people in the area. So what are your sort of views on that? Daksh, Suman, what do you think? What's next year's gonna be like?
See, to be honest, I was not really sure with what all the proposed changes for 23. Some of the things looked so far-fetched in December, and I was not sure whether this can be done. But looking at the immigration's plans and what they have done within last 6 months, whatever they have said, and I remember the changing the point system was also there. Plus, promoting more sort of employer sponsor visa with work experience was there as well, right? Cutting down on bit of a skilled migration and having an employer, so having work experience requirement and stuff like that. So see, if they stick to still what timelines they have said, hopping what they have stopped, I believe in that system that they might introduce, and then the work experience could be the key. So as long as you have graduated into something, finding a job in that particular occupation would be the key going forward. That's my take out of it.
So when you're sitting in Sydney, so you can tell, is Sydney, do you reckon it's still going to be a good state to live in?
Unfortunately, there is no graduate pathway in NSW, right? So I have not seen any graduate pathway for long. Accounting, and they need to start looking at job in the field. Even part-time is way better than not having any experience. And obviously there is like pathways for there is a pathway for 1 and 2, and if just in regional can lead to the 491, which don't require the crazy high points. So key to PR is employment. So make sure that even though you enter in entry-level job or any job, so make sure that you are you come into the field. So do the job in the accounting field, so that at least something better, and then you can move to the next stage of your career. And then when someone interview you, then there is a high chance of getting job in your field. So like I said, key is the job for the nominations for the 190 or 491.
Can I sorry, Rajan, can I weigh in, because I've seen a couple of people are very interested last financial year or last couple of financial years, if we talk about. So the requirement was that they didn't have any specific occupation list, neither a graduate pathway or nothing. As is on immigration's list, everybody could apply. Catch is you could either apply for 190 or for 491. Unlike other state, you cannot apply for both. You can only apply one of those, either 190 or 491. Now the requirements were also completely different for both of them. So for 190, the requirement is as long as you are living and working in Victoria, not working, wherever. Keep in mind 190 was very, very competitive in Victoria last year, because I'm not sure if I'm right or I have read somewhere, they received like around 55 to 60,000 ROIs last financial year, and they had like 2,400 seats for 190 if I'm not applied. For 491, however, Victoria very easy. I have got quite a few accountants with me who got invited for 491 from Victoria, because nobody was paying attention to 491 because 190 was so easy. And considering the criteria with Victoria, criteria for 491 was a bit tougher than 190, to be honest, because the requirement for 491 was you have to be living and working in any skilled job. So skill level 1, 2, 3 job, and you could apply for 491. Now, what is the skill level 1, 2, 3 job? So any job requires a bit of qualification to do that, consider skill level 1, 2, 3 job. So let's say if I'm an accountant and I'm working as a chef, which is skill level 2 job in a regional Victoria, as in a restaurant, I could have get invitation. So it was bit easier way, helped few of my clients to get invited as an accountant for 491 in Victoria. So hope this clears the question. I tried to wrap it up, but yeah, you can reach out to either one of us if you want to get detailed understanding of this.
Brilliant, Daksh. Thank you very much. So I'm going to take some more questions as soon as we could. I think we can we currently I'm following Masters of Professional Accounting, and I'm Chartered Accountant in Sri Lanka. If I get well, you forgot to mention the state, but in WA, that's going to be fine as long as you've done 2 years of full-time study in WA. That's absolutely fine. Perhaps, and as Suman was pointing out earlier, NSW does not have a graduate pathway. I'm hoping that you're only talking about WA here. So yeah, still possible. Can we apply skills assessment before we complete the masters? Yes, you can, as long as you've completed a bachelor's before, and have studied the 7 core subjects. So let's say you haven't studied the core subjects in your bachelor's that were earlier had only studied 5 subjects, but now as part of your masters, you've already cleared 2 subjects that were remaining. You could still use those subjects even though you've not completed your masters to get the skills assessment. So you don't have to wait for your masters to finish before you can use those 2 subjects that you've studied as part of your masters to be able to out some of the questions, perhaps.
Okay, there was one questions with top, so it was asking the salary requirements. I'll just toss that thing. For the 491, yes, the requirement is 70,000 for in the regional. So if you are earning $70,000 by working full time or $35,000 by working part time in 6 months, then you do meet the requirement for the 491 in NSW. Okay. Now I'll move on to the next question. Okay, I'm going to apply my 485 in this month, which will help to get a PR, and I need to know that graduate accounting job will help in this. Okay, so if you are going to apply 485, yes, so any accounting job, obviously, my colleague said, obviously, when you just graduated, you won't be getting, senior accounting role, so perhaps you might have to work under someone or in a couple of months or a couple of years. So any assistant accountant or junior accountant, that will be good for you. You can claim the points because you don't have to do 100% all the duties that is listed in the 𝐦𝐴𝐧𝐿. So as long as you are doing majority of duties, you can right. Okay, so
again, very interested in South Australia nomination. I think he's graduate from South Australia, got CPA, and I'm not sure. Did you say, Nirmit, you were working as well as an accountant? Let's say UI work experience 3 years now. Okay, Nirmit, see, I saw that you've been graduate from University of Adelaide as an accountant, and you accounting graduate, and then your 485s running out pretty soon, and you applied for 189, 190, and 491, all 3 of them. Make sure your ROIs were under the graduate stream if you're still living, that you did get invited from South Australia undergraduate pathway, having all this work experience and requirement and everything. Make sure you have applied it correctly, and now if you haven't still got invited and new financial year we are waiting for the requirements, you can apply again, and if nothing works out, to be honest, start talking with your employer in terms of employer sponsor visa options, because that's the only options gonna be left after 1st of July, because visa hopping is closing, so you can't really go on another student visa or something. So the only available option would be for you to go on an employer sponsor visa. You said you have 3 years of work experience, so to be honest, you can even consider 186 direct entry as well, see through your employer. However, in accounting, you might have to face some caveat as well, because accountants require some extra requirements on employer sponsor visas. On 482, 186, there are no caveats, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, that's correct. No caveats on 186.
No caveats on 186, but 482, you have to.
So the caveat is a turnover of $1 million from the employer and must have more than 5 employees working for the firm. And so these are the caveats. So sorry.
Yeah, no, that's thank you. So yeah, this is the option you should start talking with. I'll take one more. Is there, I'm doing a Bachelor of Accounting. Do you want to suggest me to study masters or apply for TR? To be honest, Dush, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing your name right, but to be honest, it goes on few factors. First, that which state have you studied from, and what are your personal circumstances, whether you got a job offer or whether not. So on all those things, it depends that whether you should go for a master or Victoria. And how about the job opportunity? Have you got any job opportunities as an accountant? Job, as I said, it can give you towards pathway to PR, as well as if you find a job and complete 1 year of work experience, you can have an employer sponsor visa option as well. Considering bachelor, you'll only get TR for 2 years, so you have to use it wisely. If you want to advance your career, you can certainly think of studying masters of. You have to weigh your pros and cons and take your call based on that. Rajan.
So I'll take a couple of questions quickly. So the phrase that I have 10 years of experience in accounting. I'll have to do few subjects in final levels. I have a business management degrees of business analyst. How can I apply for taxation accountant? Could you guide me? So the skills assessment process remains the same, be it taxation accountant or management accountant or accountant general. So you must have studied 7 core subjects as part of your master's or your bachelor's level. And that's all it requires. I had another question here, which said, I was just reading it. They were 44 years old. I've lost it now. But anyway, 5 visa, you have full study rights. There's no other condition other than to maintain your health insurance, as a matter of fact. So you can do whatever you like. You can do a part-time course. As I said, you can even do the 7 subjects in perhaps 6 months' time. I've heard about some universities offering that. Living in WA, will they be? I think you've already answered that, haven't you? Yeah, WA doesn't consider salary as a
Salary,
requirement.
yes, I did. Yeah, I did answer that.
yeah.
WA doesn't consider salary now.
Yeah. So this question is specifically directed towards you, Daksh. If you could advise whether I can do a receivable officer.
Again, I did answer that as well. There is such, I think, account receivable officer. You can go as an accountant. There's no such thing called accounts receivable officer.
All right. So I'll just briefly touch upon the South Australian state requirements as well. So as has been explained to you, as far as Canberra and NSW and Western Australia is concerned, South Australia again has streams. So you have to make yourself eligible under one of the streams. So there's an option for people who've studied and have graduated from South Australia. There's an option of people who are working in South Australia, and there's an option for other streams as well, like for people who occupations are concerned. Most of these occupations do not get picked up from offshore as far as South Australia is concerned. Under the graduate pathway as well, there are some specific criteria that you must fulfill in order to be able to sort of make yourself eligible. Like, for example, the course that you should have studied must have a certain duration on the CRICOS register. You must be sort of also must have stayed in South Australia for at least 1 year as part of your course. And at least 50% of the course must have completed in South Australia. And when invited, you must have stayed in South Australia for the last 12. Actually, so let's say you're a South Australian graduate. You did everything good. You studied a master's degree. You stayed there for 2 years. And now you've suddenly moved out and moved to Sydney or Melbourne or wherever. You might not remain eligible for South Australian graduate stream anymore. So you have to make sure that you go through the criteria carefully and sort of make your pathway accordingly, and don't miss out on any of the. Sometimes what happens is that you miss out on not only on the South Australian criteria, you might not even qualify for some other state professional and meet the state criteria that you're trying to get yourself eligible for. All right, moving on. So this is again, as I said, points are not as important as you think they might be. You have to make sure you fulfill the criteria first. Not everybody can fulfill the criteria, like the job offer criteria, the requirement to be working in the skilled occupation. Now, South Australia also has a working in South Australia category where you must be working in your occupation or a related occupation. Now, South Australia, when it talks about working in an occupation, it talks about related occupations to your nominated occupations in South Australia as per their definition. So you have to meet all of that criteria as well, that you must be working for 6 months. You must be residing in South Australia for the last 12 months as well. Let's say, for example, the work experience should be post-qualified. Make sure you meet all that criteria. All right, moving on. Is Daksh, you want to talk about Victoria perhaps, or?
Victoria, I did cover, I guess, earlier.
You did cover,
I think, yeah. So if
we
Suman
just take some of the questions then?
Yeah. I think again, what common question I have been seeing at the moment in comment section is, do we have an update on new financial year? Unfortunately, no, not just for accounting occupation, none of the occupation, because requirements are for all the occupations state by state. So first we have to wait for federal government to announce and probably provide the seats quota to each state, and from there the states would start their nomination progress and everything. So at the moment, unfortunately, we don't have any update on that. And 189, yes, round has happened recently, but and we have seen a few accounting invites as well here and there. But again, there's no other nation round
Albeit at very
flagged.
high points though. Accountants got
Yes,
invited at 95, 100 points,
100,
something like
105.
that,
Yes,
for
yes,
189,
yes.
which is
So
sometimes not easy to get for everyone.
yes, so yeah, and there has not been another round flagged for 189 for this financial year, at least as far as my knowledge goes. So yeah, no, and I think Sachin is asking again and again this question. I'll cover this. Sachin, no, we don't have idea about what's the best to best salary for Victoria 1491. The 491 Victoria said that you need to have a income for skill level 1 to 3 job. There's no amount as such. The higher the salary, more the benefit. But with Victoria, there is another before the salary. One more criteria was that if someone has the more priority. So if as a single I have 10 points, and if one of the other applicant has a partner who has 6 each, as well as skills assessment, they have same 10 points. But with Victoria, over the salary as well, they gave priority to someone who has skilled partner 10 points rather than me having a single 10 points, and then it went up to the salary. So there's no best figure, but higher the salary, better it helps you.
Okay, so I want to answer one question. So it's from Hansani's experience, associate one, and as an audit supervisor, I also have 8 months of part-time work experience in Australia. You are from accounting background, so that's why you are here. So if you have that experience, then we have done a couple of skills assessment as an internal auditor from that profile. Then in total, you do have a nearly 6 years of experience, and your 1 year of experience will be deducted. Then you do have a 5 years of experience, quite good enough. And in Sydney, yes, I was able to get the 190 invitation for similar profile with 5 years of experience, superior English, skill partner. Yes, you do have a good chance. And we have to, obviously, we have to see your duties. And also, like with the audit experience, professionals, all you have to show is you are dealing with the data and you're advising the particular organizations. So there is also occupations available for you. You don't have to finish your study. If you are doing currently master from your bachelor, also there is skills assessment available, and then you can pursue for your state nomination while you're doing master degree.
All right, I'll take one question now. So there's a question which states, I completed my master's in accounting from Uni Adelaide in December 2020, finished my CPA in December 2023. My 485 extra.
Rajan,
You
I
did
did
that?
yeah, I did.
Oh, okay.
Last when I was
so very strong application. Let me just.
It's like 80, 85 and 95 points, applied all the ROIs and everything. I think I covered, and then that's what I said, that if it doesn't go, then he can consider the option of 186. That's the last question. Yeah.
And plus, South Australia was actually prioritizing ROIs where the applicant had longer work experience last year. So you can also write to, if that happens this year as well, in the next financial year, you can always request the state to prioritize your application because you've got 3 years of experience. So that's also one of the considerations. I mean, even if you go for an employer-sponsored visa like a 482, you can still keep on trying with the South Australian state to issue you an invitation. If, however, you get 186, then it'll be fine because that's a.
My question is being ignored. I've scrolled up, trying to cover as many as we can. See, at the end of the day, if your question doesn't get answered here, you can always reach out to your nearest Aussizz office, and they'll be happy to help. But yeah, I saw your question. You have 44 years of age. And I'm not sure whether you said you have been registered as with accounting body in UK as well as CPA in Australia, and your age is 40. I'm not sure whether you are in Australia or offshore, but at 44 years, mostly 5, or you are still about to get 40, completed 44, or about to get to that age. But yes, even employer sponsor visa 186 stops at that age. So that's when it's gonna be difficult. Again, you should get in touch with one of us with proper date of birth and your profile, and we would be able to give you more idea. But your age is a bit of a migration permanent residencies. The age requirement is at 44. You get 45.
Yeah. So, do you want to answer a couple of questions, or perhaps?
Okay, So there's one question. It's related to law degree. So I'll just answer it, even though we are doing a session from accounting. So it's asked from Nihal. So my fiancée has done BA LLB from India. She wanted to work in Australia. Can you suggest me what course she must complete to practice her law in Australia? So looks like she already done LLB. So okay, in that case, what she can do here is you need to do overseas qualification assessed by the legal professional body. And then they will tell you, some of the subjects that are prerequisite for the, to become. So need to go for the practical legal training, which is around 6 months time. Once you finish that 6 months time and then units, then she will be eligible to for the admission as a lawyer in Supreme Court of Australia, and then she can practice after that one.
Had we getting the same question again? You posted 2 times and nobody replied. We are really sorry. See, we are trying to answer but because of the 1 hour time window, which we already crossed as well, it gives us a bit of a lesser room to answer each and every question. But don't worry about this. As I said, as long as you can contact to your nearest office, and we are more than happy to even give you a consultation and do your tailor-made situation rather than answering. We are well past, I guess, 12 minutes to our session time. So
Yeah.
we'll stop here. But yeah, as I said, and we are more than happy to help you no matter where you wanna. And if you wanna reach out to one of us specifically, you'll have the contact details for those as well. So either you can book a session with one of us or nearest of your Aussizz offices, and we are more than happy to help and give you a tailor-made situation for your situation.
Thank you everyone for joining.
I would like to thank each and every presenter today for sharing all the important information. I hope it was helpful for all of you. I would like to conclude this session now. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.